Crouching Slash had its recovery increased. Previously, it was 31 frames of recovery and -7 on block. Now, in the current patch, it's 37 frames of recovery and -13 on block. But there's one teensy tiny little problem with this change. It's aimed at trying to make Happy Chaos's neutral a little more risky, but it doesn't actually fully address the actual problem with his neutral. And that's this whole thing right here. This whiff into gunshot RNG shot. This is the actual issue with the character, and Arc System Works has continued to refuse to do anything about it, treating everything else around it like, yay, you added more recovery to 2S. Cool. But as long as he has a chance of hitting me with this, I'm not trying to whiff punish Happy Chaos. There's no point. I am gambling way too much for that because he can still do this. This is the problem, not 2S. Rants aside, 2S into Gunshot is a little less potent overall on block and on hit. You could be plus 12 around that range, and now you're going to be working with about 5 or 6 less frames of advantage in those situations. 6S also has a nerf where it has reduced movement distance. It covered a decent amount of ground before, and it's a little stubbier, meaning that it should possibly drop in some combo routing that it used to link before and be a little less threatening and neutral at times. Scapegoat has a little bit of a reworking, again, where they've changed where the goat spawns, so the goat itself is going to be up front towards the opponent a little more. It also costs a little less life. And if you're up close to the opponent previously, it will just spawn right in front of them, but now it will actually spawn behind them, creating a corner positioning in the mid screen. And you might think, well, maybe that means it's more easy for me to run through Happy Chaos. Doesn't really seem to be the case. There's a pretty small range where it will actually spawn behind the opponent. And with that, this is pretty much strictly a buff for Happy Chaos to work with, and it lets him do things like this with fast roam and cancel, setting up a scapegoat and getting corner-like pressure in the mid-screen, as well as just having a myriad of options, adding on to his already incredibly high mental stack. Set up the clone, PRC, you can still cross up in mid-screen. And that's all of the changes for Happy Chaos in this patch. And I think we're moving towards a meta where Happy Chaos is probably going to be a very strong character. Yet again, I think it was Jonathan Tene on Twitter that put it as whenever the meta gets to a very healthy point, Happy Chaos preys on that kind of meta. And when you think about it, it's kind of looking like that right now. The guard-crushing abusers like Gold Lewis have been nerfed quite a bit by the system mechanic changes. Happy Chaos himself is taking a little less damage thanks to the changes in risk gauge, which I think he strictly benefits from. He's got a whole new tool to play with as well, and he's still untouched. J2K is still an untouched button. With Gunshot is still completely untouched. All you have to do, I think, to bring Happy Chaos into line is to remove with Gunshot. He can only pull out the gun on contact with somebody. Otherwise, it just doesn't work like that. The fact that they still allow this to continue, but maybe justify it by, well, it's RNG, is beyond me at this point. And he's got a very impressive mix. He's got really good pressure. His defense is going to be a little bit better because he can YRC some of the guard crush pressure as long as he has that. And, everyone else, I think a lot of the other hot top tier characters got nerfed around him. And so he's kind of standing out to me as a character that's still going to be really, really good going forward. We've seen Jack, for example, put in a lot of work with the character still. And Jack is a very strong player. Do not get me wrong. And I think that, Jack was winning a lot of online events before. I don't see that changing going forward, but I can also see a lot of people that might have tried other characters besides Happy Chaos going back to Happy Chaos in the next patch. We're going to see, but I think that Happy Chaos is going to be doing incredibly well in this patch cycle.